Welcome to English on Demand, and today's topic is adverbs of frequency. Adverbs of frequency helps to tell how often you do something. Frequency means how often you do something or how often something happens. Frequency, okay? Adverbs of frequency. The first one is always. Always, it means we do it 100% of the time, all the time. Usually means we do it most of the time, but not all the time, 90% of the time. Something we do usually means that we do it always, except if some situation lets us stop. So maybe someone goes swimming every day, but if we have rain, they don't go. So then they will say, usually. Often means we do it 80% of the time, or 70 to 80% of the time. So often means we do it a lot, but not every day. More than 50% of the time. So maybe on a school day, we go somewhere 4 days a week or 3 days a week. That's often. Sometimes is about 50% of the time. We do it half the time. It could be less, but not as much as often. Sometimes. Rarely. Rarely means we don't do it often. So that's 30% or less. This one can be less than 30%. Of course, this can be even 5%. Something we just don't do very much. And seldom. Seldom is the same as rarely. It means we don't do it often. So just like rarely, 30% or less. More than zero, but 30% or less. Okay? And we have these two words, rarely and seldom. We can use either one. Both of them are the same, okay? So some students have trouble to pronounce rarely because sometimes it sounds like really. If it's difficult to say, we can also say seldom. Seldom. Last, we have never. Never means we do it 0% of the time. We never do it, of course, okay? Let's look at some examples. I always wake up at 6 a.m. So that's 100% of the time. I usually eat noodles for breakfast 90% of the time. Okay, so maybe you usually eat something for breakfast, but you don't want to eat it every day, right? It can be usually, but not always. I often go to 7-Eleven after school. All right, so this is for normal students. After school, maybe you go to 7-Eleven 3 times a week. I would say that is often. I sometimes eat KFC for dinner. Okay, so KFC for dinner, you can't eat it every day, but you can have it sometimes. That's okay. I rarely go to the cinema. I seldom go to the beach. I never eat bitter melon. All right, don't think about the numbers too much. They can be a little more or a little less. Usually can be 95%. Often can be 70%. Seldom and rarely can be 5 or 10%. All right. If you want to say always, but something is not always, you can say almost always. Or if it's very rare, we can say almost never. Almost never. So if I say almost always, that's like 99%, 97, 99, between 97 and 99%. And if I say almost never, then it's between 1% and 5%. Okay? We can use these words with the verb to be. For example, he is always hungry. So here the verb to be becomes is. It's the same thing, but using the verb to be to show he is always hungry. Next one is she is usually happy. The verb to be becomes is. And the last one, we are always early to class. So here the verb to be becomes are. Okay? Remember, the person comes first, and then the adverb of frequency, and then the action. So for example, he always runs. He never smiles. Okay, now remember to add S to the action word if it's the third person. Third person means he, she, or it. I always wake up early. So what is the action word in this sentence? I always wake up early. The action word is wake. But because this sentence starts with I is the person, we don't need to add S. I sometimes walk the dog. The action word is walk. So if the person is I, we don't have to add S. But if the person is she, then we would add S. He usually waters the plants. What is the action word in this sentence? He usually waters the plants. The action word is waters. So we have to add S after water because the person doing the action is he, the third person. He usually waters the plants. If you wanted to say that you usually water the plants or I usually water the plants, you say I usually water the plants. And we don't add S at the end. Okay, now let's practice. Let's go to live worksheets for more practice. All right, so we have the guide at the top. It shows us always has 6 stars, usually 5 stars, often 4 stars, sometimes 3 stars, never 0 stars. This is the guide to know how frequently, how often the action takes place in this worksheet. So use the guide to help you choose the word. Okay, so the first one, my mother, so we can see the bananas have no stars. So the word should be never. My mother never eats bananas. Okay, so very easy, guys. You just have to select the correct word from the drop down by using the guide here for activity 1. Scroll down to activity 2. For activity 2, now we have to write the adverb of frequency. So right here, how often? Use the guide, of course, again. So 3 stars for the first one. 3 stars means sometimes. So we'll come here, write sometimes. You have to type it in. And then choose the correct word. So you have to choose, do you have to put S at the end or not? Okay, so Peter and Lucy are 2 people. And for 2 people, we would say they. We can say the names of the people, or we can say they. For they, we don't have to put S. Okay? for this one, my brother never. This one we have to put S at the end because my brother is the third person. So we have to put S at the end of gets and say gets up. Okay? So look through these, do the rest on your own. This is activity 3. So for activity 3, we have to put the words in the correct order to make the sentence. Okay? We can drag and drop the words to the correct order. All right? I will do this one for you. So it goes my friends sometimes play basketball. Okay, fits perfectly. Okay? So we put the words in order by dragging and dropping. Okay? So you can do the rest on your own. Once you have finished all 3 activities, you've finished all the answers, go down to the end of the page and click the finish button. And then when you see this window, click check my answers. Now go back to the top and you will see they have given you a score. Alright, once you finish with this, take a photo of your score and submit it to the album. Alright guys? And that's the end of today's English on Demand. I will see you again next time.